following announcement has been paid for by the Celtic World Order.
Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Celtic World Order. I'm always a Steel Matt, and I say it all the time, but it is true. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all back here. Join us on the channel for another sit down, another chat about all things Celtic Football Club. As always, Steve O'Matt, and the man to the side of me is my bearded brother who looks a wee bit better. He was quite sick the other day, powering through. It's, of course, Paddy Boy. Mate, you do look better. Is it going to be a plain sailing for you?
I hope so. Yeah, I'm on the other side of it now, so all good. I've been taking a lot of legal drugs and helping myself get through it. So, on the mend, and hopefully back to work pretty soon.
Like a brand new signing, I think you say, isn't it, when you return
That's
to
it, mate.
full fitness? So there we go. Paddy's like a brand new signing here on Celtic World Order. And as I say, it's a warm welcome to every single one of you joining us. If you're new to the channel, what are you doing? Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you like what you see, you like what you hear as this video goes on, get the wee thumbs up. If you want to help out further, you can share it. It just gets more people and grows this thriving community. If you want to help support the channel, you can. It's completely optional. You can become a member like the original, the OG 420 somewhere, the principal membership there. But as we say, it doesn't get you any additional content. All our content is 100% free. It just helps with the running of the channel, because doing this is not. If you want to connect with us elsewhere, we're on X at CWPod1888. And last but not least, it's still there, the Facebook at Celtic World Order Podcast. So, as we say, welcome back. And Paddy, would you believe it? Hell has frozen over, mate. We've got something tangible. We've got some exciting stuff to discuss. You've seen it. The first one is, of course, Adam Idah. We'll get into that. Some of you may have or may not have watched the wee video that I recorded in the early hours of this morning talking about that. And it's had a great reaction. Thanks to everybody that's watched that. Thanks to every single person that's taken a comment, because that's what we love here at CW. We love the debate. We love the interaction. And it's been a mixed bag. Now we'll get on to that, Paddy, because I want to know your thoughts around it. I put it out as great signing, bad business question mark, and that raised a few eyebrows. Now, for the benefit of clarity here, I am not criticising the Adam Idah signing. If you thought that, you didn't watch the whole video, because I was smiling like I'm at right now. I talked about his quality, I sang his praises. All I was addressing was, and I will never change, is that it's the way that we do deals, isn't it, Paddy? It's how we drag things out. We scrambled about, we scratched. The manager wasn't getting what he was hoping for in January, and he single-handedly, at the last minute, managed to grab a rabbit out the hat. But it was fortunately too late to put in any assurances for a player that they wanted £6 million for and were happy to let go in January. We rumbled on. He proved his worth. But it turned out £8.5 million, rising to 9.5 with a £15 million add-on sell-on clause at the end should he leave Celtic, which he will, let's face it, at some point further down the road. All I was saying was, we make it hard for ourselves. If we were a wee bit more proactive, if we were a wee bit more forward-thinking, if we trusted the manager's judgment more often, then we would do it. And I underlined the point. Celtic, by the way, let me remind you, £19.7 million in profit on player sales between 23 to 24, 8.5 million in sales this summer alone. We've still got a lot of that to spend. Paddy, I'll take a seat. I'll get off my soapbox. Talk to me, brother. What is your thoughts on Idah? And everybody in here, what's your thoughts on the Idah, the deal, the signing, everything to go with it? Let us know. Paddy, hit me with it.
I think it's a welcome addition, a very needed addition. Somebody that we know, somebody that's proven. And we've said it before, we've been calling for him to come in.
Yep, absolutely.
I think Celtic have had their hand forced because of the injury to Kyogo, which you did comment on as well. I think Brendan's went in there and said, listen, this needs done now. And that's played right into Norwich's hands. I fully believe that. I think your previous video that you done, the traction on it's been incredible. A lot of good comments on there as well. A lot of people saying that you're kind of negative towards the board and things like that. We just want to get this across. At CWO, we are delighted at the position that Celtic is in. Celtic is run incredible as a business. However, the frustrating part as a fan is when you're waiting on a player that you know you could have got right at the beginning of the window for 6 million if you weren't penny pinching, then you go ahead and you spend an extra 2.5, possibly 3 more on top of that. That's bad business. But everything else is good. We're happy that Idah's in. We are absolutely delighted that the big man's in. However, I haven't seen anything for Celtic yet. Have they posted the picture of him standing with his top yet?
Not quite. I think the important thing is always, isn't it? Once you hear a fee's been agreed, that's when you know it's a matter of time. And the general reports are suggesting that it's going to be, the next sort of 24 to 48 hours. You'd expect that we have you being in the squad and ready to go for the game against Hibs in the cup.
Kissing his wee flag.
Kissing his flag. That's it. Point to the Shamrock, I believe. That kind of stuff. But no, you hit the nail on the head there, Paddy. And as we say, we don't want to be negative around here. But one thing that CW is and will always stand for, as long as there's breath in the two of our guys' bodies over here, is for honesty, is for truth. And to be honest, just calling it as we see it with our eyes. It's maybe maybe breaking down the fourth wall here. But if you want to see Happy Clapman clean the board and everything's brilliant, everything we do at Celtic, then Celtic World Order podcast is not the one for you, and I have no problem saying that. If you want real fans telling it like it is and calling out stuff that could be improved, whilst of course praising and doing all the positive stuff about what we do as a football club, then welcome aboard. Welcome back to Celtic World Order. But listen, as Paddy says, we don't want to be negative. We'll just continually point out things that should be improved, because that's ultimately what we as fans want, and it, Paddy, not just ourselves, everybody that's taking time to watch us. We just want to see our ambitions, the manager's ambitions, match with those people who are upstairs, because God knows we have got the reserves to do it. We've got a man with the tactics and the vision to pull it off. Now, I'm not talking about winning European Cups here, but I'm talking about progressing at a steady rate each year. Is that fair?
100%. The managers came out and spoke about it before. He's told us what additions he's told the board that he needs. Now, it's coming into the kind of closing stages of the transfer window. I know we've still got a wee while left, of course we have, but it's coming to that stage where we need to start looking at these options that we've got, the ones that we've got lined up, and actually going out there and getting them. I think if we get caught again, maybe a possible injury to Greg Taylor might force the left back to get bought and brought in. So if there's any Hibs players watching, please tackle Greg Taylor quite hard on Sunday or whenever the game is.
Well, I don't quite want injuries, but I get what you're saying.
If it's going to bring us in extra additions, then I'll take it.
Well, it's quite funny. I saw a couple of comments there saying that an Oscar should be handed out to Kyogo because perhaps Brendan was telling him, "You just look in agony, son, and help us out here." No matter how it came about, we got there in the end, didn't we? I just want to talk about the fee, Paddy. You briefly touched on it. And as we say, look, hindsight is great. We know that. In January, the selling value was £6 million. That's what they wanted. But as we said, it was too late. It was the 11th hour. We had to take what we got. And unfortunately, whatever way you look at it, from us as a buying club, when you've got a guy that made the impact that Idah did, dragged us right back into that title race, saw us overtake Rangers, helped us out, and ultimately single-handedly delivered a double. Went a long way to repaying at the front end that fee with the money we'll get for the Champions League, the money that we get for the domestic success. So, if you balance it up, it is what it is. But as we say, it's really about how we arrived at that point. Perhaps if we were a wee bit sharper and going forward, that's what we could have done. As I say, this is a fee, Paddy. 8.5 got up to £9 million. We've spoken, banged this drum time and time again. It's the kind of fee that, it's a mixed reaction. You look at social media, you look at the comments in our videos, you look at the comments online. There's two schools, isn't there? There's those people that think that it's, oh my God, £8.5 million, what are we doing? And they're scared to spend that money for some strange, peculiar reason. And then there's other people, much like ourselves, that are saying, do you know what? This should be something that should be semi-regular. We're not saying every year we go out and buy a guy at that, but every second year or third year, if you need to really supplement and you've maybe sold somebody and bring in proper quality for the right player, we should be doing that, should we not? think about the fees we were paying early 2000s.
Yeah, you spoke about it before. We mentioned guys like Christopher Julian and Odsonne Edouard and other guys like this. We spent 5.5 million on a Yeti as well. So you look at these kind of fees put about. If you're getting Adam Idah for 8.5 million, that's a no-brainer compared to what we paid for a Yeti and stuff like that.
Oh, definitely.
You mentioned what he'd done. Coming that end of the season, he kicked on. Like you said, he pretty much won us some of the games with the impact that he had. He certainly won us the double with his goal in the cup final as well.
That's you've got to balance.
So do you know what?
He's
paid for himself, hasn't he? He's really, he's kind of done. He's done the job and he's paid for his own contract, basically, in my eyes. So do you know what? That kind of fee for me is all right. I'm quite happy going out and spending that. I think we should do it more often. But then again, we don't want to be doing it on a regular occurrence and ending up with the team across the city.
Well, that's the thing. That, and you know, the last phrase there you said, that's somehow this irrational thought process that some of our fan base hold, which is, oh my God, if you spend too much money, you think what might happen. And we've said time and time again, and you said at the top of the show, we ran fantastically as a business in terms of generating income from all different sources. Our board are, if we're being honest, they're kind of class leading in that respect. The problem is when it comes to this spending it, and that's a side note, and as we say, it's just important for us as fans to continually strive for better, to demand the most that we can get, because, you know, whether you're paying hundreds a year for a season ticket, or you're just the armchair fan that's buying all the merchandise for you, your family and everything, everybody puts a lot of money into this club and they just want to see something returned. You know, the product that you see, it's like anything, but not £8.5 million, rightly, isn't a lot of money. And if you actually cast your mind back to when we spent £9 million on Edouard, this comes back to the manager identifying somebody, seeing somebody, seeing their qualities and what they want. Because if you remember, we paid that kind of money for Edouard, who had nowhere near as much the impact that Idah did during that point. I mean, it was not, he started to flourish kind of late on in his initial loan, but if you'd asked me, was he worth £9 million? I would have laughed at you at the time, but he went on and proved it.
When we signed him, Odsonne Edouard, he was quite raw. There was still a lot of parts of his game to progress, basically. I think, obviously, the time with Big Dembele obviously would have helped him out as well, and helped him progress a lot. So, listen, it's a no-brainer. We know, you always say that, it's better the devil you know. Bringing in a striker like Adam Idah for £8.5 million is a brilliant signing, because we could have went out there and spent 20 million on a striker and brought him in. Like, what is it, Spurs? What have they spent on Solanke? Something ridiculous. We could have went out and done that, no problem. We've got the money there sitting. Celtic would never do that as a business. However, if we did and you brought somebody in and they were garbage, then where do you go for there? For us, Adam Idah is a proven striker. He loves the club. He gets the club. He's got a rapport with the fans already. So it's a no-brainer. It's absolutely fantastic. And I'm more than happy to have him in the door.
That's it, mate. You know, he's a proven commodity. Yes, as we said and pointed out, and I did in the videos there, perhaps we were strong-armed, we were backed into a corner. The board were backed into a corner. And as I says, I get the feeling that it was needs must. They'd folk like yourselves, folk like that are out there watching, the demise, banging the drum, demanding, wanting him in. They knew that if they didn't deliver on a guy like Adam Idah, who was desperate to come to the club, that it would have been a big, huge black mark against their name, which is several black marks over the years against it. So it was imperative they done it. But as we say, the way it was structured, the nature of it, they got themselves backed into a corner. And I hope it's actually a sore lesson for them, because as we know, this board don't like getting hit in the pocket. They don't like overspending the odds. And I know that probably you can imagine the reaction when they knew that that's what they had to part ways with in order to get them in the door. And it serves them right. It really does. It serves them right. And I'm happy they've done it. But yeah, I think they spent it because they had to, not necessarily because they wanted to. And that's two different things. But listen, I am here for it. Rather that a known commodity than, as you say, is moving on to the next person and maybe not hitting the ground running. Because we've done that. How many strikers have we had in throughout the years for mixed values, your Banguras, your Rasmussens?
Aye,
they got the list goes on, mate. Skepovic. You know,
Oh.
that's it. You're better to sometimes go with what you know than what you don't. But as you says, mate, there's room for improvement, isn't there? It's great to see that we've
100%.
got one addition in the door, but we're still a wee bit short. I mentioned a few names last night, and I just want to actually get your thoughts on them because I says it's ticking over again. And the interesting one, firstly, was the boy Abu Kamara. He was down again at Norwich, 21, right-sided winger. He's got 1 year left in his contract, less than 1 year in his contract left. And apparently, according to Peter O'Rourke, the Sky Sports, that's someone that Celtic are going to do a quote double deal for from Norwich. Wee bit about him, the snapshot was 136 appearances career, 56 at a senior level. Last year he was out on loan at Portsmouth, 52 games, senior level, 10 goals, 11 assists. Maybe talking about £1 to £1.5 million. Is that something that kind of floats your boat as an option, maybe not a solution?
I think he's going to be one of the project players they like to bring in, and I think he's a pretty good project player when you think about the numbers there. Obviously playing for Portsmouth, it's a decent enough league, similar standard. You would imagine that he would be up to a decent enough standard himself. So for him coming in, I think it'd be a good progression player. Somebody to play, like you say, a few 10-minute appearances here and there, couple of substitute appearances. He's not going to be straight into the squad unless obviously any injuries come. But yeah, a good addition to the squad for that kind of fee, like you say, the nominal 1 million, 1.5 million. You're quite happy to bring in these kind of project players for that kind of cash because you're not going to really lose money on that. That's a saleable asset at the end of the day, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, we know that we need the quality, and we've identified, we've been quite fortunate here where we've had Nicholas Kuhn really coming on a game down that right-hand side. The other options we know is Yang. That's a wee bit sort of hot and cold still. I think he's a guy that certainly needs work. You know, if we look at the price point that we paid, or we could pay for Kamara versus what we paid around about two-ish, just over two for Yang, certainly coming from, I guess you would say, a higher standard in, British football. Yeah. He might hit the ground running a wee bit more. It gives a lot more time for what is to make a decision on Yang. We've obviously got Forrest who can go between the left and the right. So that would be a good wee addition there, I think, as well, and definitely strengthen us going forward. But the main things, as we've said, and you touched right at the start, the left-back situation. You joked about everybody's best Celtic player, Greg Taylor. Well, there's actually a few names that have come into the mix over the past sort of 2 days, Paddy. I'm sure you've seen them, and I just want to run it by you. And again, in the comments, let us know if these float your boat. The first one that was straight up here was, and as Thomas Burns says, Owen Beck. He does not improve us, and surely we can do better. Now, he's obviously been up here. We've got we look at him when he was on loan at Dundee. We wanted him in January, again on loan, but Liverpool played him, couldn't sign him. And now they're happy to let go of him. Arne Slot's went in. He's no part of the plans, as is obviously Ben Doak, who will give a passing mention too. We're talking about supposedly being the keyword. Celtic are interested, and that's meant to be around about a fee of £3 million. But coming back to having spent £8.5 million, the initial words on that was that Celtic were, quote, some distance off. Yeah. Owen Beck, is that floating your boat? And let's get back to reality. If £3 million the fee, should we really be quabbling over it and we paid the likes of 4.5 for Bernabei?
I know. When you compare it to the likes of Bernabei, Owen Beck, again, he's not a really proven, proper player for me in that position. I'd like to see him come in. However, again, it'd be like a kind of project player. It'd be somebody that we're going to progress on. I think possibly get him in, put him out on loan straight away. He's not really going to improve what we've got at the minute. Like a few of the guys in the chat are saying there. He's not the one. He's not the answer for me. However, at £3 million, you'd take him in and you'd train him up and basically make him a saleable asset, wouldn't you?
Well, we don't want to buy guys, obviously, because of what might have happened, or what could happen. But as I said before, let's look at some of the guys that have slipped through the net that, were available to us. Your Josh Doigs, dare I say it, young Ferguson, Aaron Hickey, all guys who have been, in and around well, certainly in Scottish football, but British football, they've been around, they've been available, and we've turned our nose up at it. And, they've all pushed on and they've done well for themselves. Is it not better to perhaps, if it comes back to this trusting the manager thing, if this is someone that he identifies and sees worth on, because we did actually get to see him playing at Dundee. Now, I know Dundee, when you play for a side like that, it's a different kettle of fish. But one thing you would have got to see when he was playing at Dundee was his defensive qualities, because Dundee, that's the kind of team they are. And certainly for what I saw of him, I didn't think he was, I didn't think he was a disastrous player. I didn't think he was not capable to handle himself. Could he level up? Could he scale up to European football? Remains to be seen. But certainly, much like the way people are talking about the boy from Motherwell, Lennon Miller, these guys can scale up. Should we be looking at what's on our doorstep, whether that's just over the border or in and around Scotland, a wee bit more often?
Again, if you're proven in the Scottish League, then why not? It's back to that old saying, better the devil you know, because if you've got a player that's played in the league that knows what to expect, it's a tougher game up here, I believe, than what you're going to get in the Premier League. The Premier League's more kind of your fancy football. Up here, they're not scared to melt you every now and again and remember you where you are. So for these young guys coming in, if you've already played in that kind of atmosphere, you've played at Celtic Park, you've played at Ibrox, you've been in the kind of volatile situations coming up against guys like Nicholas Kuhn and Yang, and who I think it was Yang that played against Youngbeck, wasn't it? And Yang had quite a good game against him.
One of the few.
Yeah, one of the kind of few games that he had, and I think he kind of tore him a new arse at some points, turned him inside out. But yeah, I mean, these guys, you want to bring people in that are proven. Lennon Miller, I believe, is a cracking player as well. I'd probably rather see him come in than the boy for Liverpool as well. Schlupp, we mentioned him as well. What's the deal with?
Palace, that's one that's sort of gone a wee bit quiet there. As we say, we profiled him the other show. Again, it wouldn't surprise me, but it's kind of strange, is it not, that as soon as this happens and we get the Idah thing all but signed, and suddenly we went from very little in the way of rumours to just a swarm of names getting thrown at us. Schlupp, as I says, and there's another guy that we'll bring up as well that has also been circulating as being a link to ourselves as a midfielder. We'll go on to him. Schlupp, for me, you treat it as a running bill. You get 2 good seasons out of a guy like that, and that's the important thing. It's about sort of trying to supplement the side. The likes of Lennon Miller, is the same, as an Owen Beck, getting in young guys that look quality around there. Perhaps the boy Kamara from Norwich. Then you've got your Idahs that's at that sort of middle stage of his career where he's not quite his prime, but he's not quite just overly young and raw. So it's finding a good balance. Drop in Schmeichel for that, bags of experience. So that would be one there. So if Owen Beck, Paddy, is one that you would like to bring in or would consider bringing in, but you don't see him as being the solution, then what about the other name, left back, that's came around? Obviously, Schlupp he's a bit of an adapter. He can play left back. But Christopher Lund, who's a bona fide left back, USA international, 22 years of age, was over at Palermo. So what's the story with him? As we always do, we've got a wee quick fact find on him there. So he's had 150 senior appearances during his career. Last season, he was in Serie B, Palermo, where he had 30 appearances. He's previously also been on the books of Elfsberg, Haken and Midtjylland, 2 teams in Denmark, 1 in Sweden. And he's had some experience in European football, not at a high level, only for the qualifiers, didn't get into the group stage proper. He was previously part of the under sort of set up for Denmark before going back to, I guess, maybe he's got a family. I don't know if he's a full-blown born USA chap or he was Danish to begin with, but he's since played 3 international caps for the USA senior team. He's come from a team, history of Denmark, Sweden, Serie B. The fee on him, it says to be around about, again, the £3 million mark. Is that something that sounds a wee bit more appealing to you?
Yeah, it seems quite appealing. If you're playing with him on FIFA, You're looking for the chemistry. You've got the Danish part with Casper and the American part with
Carter
Vickers in there, so you're going to get a cracking chemistry in there.
That's what we should do. We should base all our signings on FIFA profiles. Eh?
FIFA.
What's their card? If they got a gold card, get them in.
That's it. I've not checked this young lad's card. However, listen, the teams that you mentioned as well that he's played for, they're in the Champions League pretty much every year.
Had Midfield
there for the qualifiers.
Yeah. Well, Midfield have been there in the other qualifying, but it is a mixed bag. But it's still, the league standard is not going to be too dissimilar to what it would potentially face in domestically at Celtic and Scotland. Yeah,
we've got quite a good record with Danish guys and Swedish guys coming in as well. If you look at, Lager Bielka, we'll just forget about him, but you look at guys like Christopher Ayer and Karl Starfelt and guys like this, your kind of centre backs that we've had in, Danish guys and Swedish, they've all been pretty decent. Obviously with Casper in there as well, there's going to be a bit of an understanding. He'll have played, I don't know if did he play alongside Carter Vickers when he played for America?
Hard to tell, as I say. There is three caps there. Don't necessarily know how recent that is, but that's where he's put his allegiance now. He's pledged his allegiance to the flag, and he's now part of that American setup instead of the Danish setup. But at that profile, we talk about the mix-up of players, 22. There's the sort of common theme, but there's always room for these sort of guys, and I think that's something that we've been crying out for, as somebody who's a bona fide left back. I always thought that when Bernabei came in, he looked like more of a sort of converted winger, a failed winger that was asked to defend, and that never really kicked on. So, I'd be certainly positive about getting any sort of left-sided reinforcements in down that sort of side. And,
100%.
Say it once or twice, Paddy, if the fees are going about £3 million, why not go and get both? If that's what you're interested in.
Exactly, that's it. £3 million, like you said, the amount of money that we've went out and we've paid for players who are just sitting on the bench, who every time they get tackled, they look like they made a wet cardboard for that fact. They're just, some of these guys that we're bringing in are just not really up to the mark. So if you're looking at these young guys, if it's players that the manager's looked at and the manager's identified, then go for it. Give the manager exactly what he wants. Another name that I had seen mentioned as well was Renato Tapia, the Peruvian guy.
We were going to get on him,
centre half as well. I've had a wee look at him. He looks pretty decent. Can play centre back. Can play the central defensive midfielder role as well. Again, left-sided centre half as well. For me, he looks like a pretty decent option, but I don't know whether this is just one that's been thrown in there by somebody that's got a Twitter account.
That's it. But you never know. Everybody that's got a voice on social media can stir up a rumour. But Paddy, you've brought him up, so let's put him out there. As I say, as always, there's a wee sort of brief fact find for those that don't know. If you've seen this story out there and you're watching, let us know what's your sort of thoughts on the potential around this. This is one of these sort of unconfirmed, but it's gained enough traction and enough sort of reports for various different outlets that there could well be something in it. As Paddy says, Peruvian midfielder. He's a defensive midfielder, 29 years of age. So again, coming back to this, Paddy, this notion of a wee bit more experience in there, that's ticking all the boxes. And most importantly, and this will be right up Celtic Street, he's a freebie because he's no longer at Celta Vigo. He was there for 2020 season, right up to last season, 120 appearances. He's a central defender type midfielder. No goals, but who cares? That's not what his job is. If you're interested, 33 yellow cards, so he's maybe a wee bit of a hothead, but that could be something, as we've said, an enforcer, a destroyer, whatever you want to put on it. And then previously, well, not quite. Listen, we want somebody with a bit of digs, don't we? But a dig with flair. That's what we like to see. But other than that, his background is pretty good. Celta Vigo, playing over in, Spanish League previously. He was at Feyenoord, 69 appearances. He was at 20 as well, 34. He's clocked in 289 senior appearances. He's had Champions League experience, Europa League experience, and 85 Peru senior caps, playing, Copa America, a very good competitive international stage. So, a very well-rounded player there, isn't he, Paddy?
I think it's a cracking, like you just said, the stats and stuff like that. It sounds like a cracking player to bring in. Like you said, central defensive midfielder, but can also play centre back. The next Bobo, get in there, Willie. Yeah, definitely. That's what we need. Somebody that's going to remind people that they're playing in the Scottish League and they're playing against Celtic. Bobo's going to get you. Yeah, listen, the guy ticks all the boxes for me. We do need that sometimes. Many times we've been watching a game. Celtic are very flair at the minute. We're very Brendan ball. We're playing Brendan's football, aren't we? We're pinging the ball about, all of the passing, the nice parts of the game. But sometimes you do need somebody with a bit of grit to actually dig in and get in there. Matt O'Reilly's not that type of player. Hatate's certainly not that type of player. Callum, you get it for him sometimes. When he's when we're on the back foot and he knows that
when he needs to dig in, he'll do it, but he's not.
However, I think, he's not that type of player. But I think if we get somebody like that in, then like you say, an enforcer, somebody that's going to sit in the middle of the park, a kind of Wanyama type player as well, isn't it? It's that kind of unit.
Aye. Well, see, these things, Paddy, as we say, they are at this moment in time just rumour. There's not much solidity around a lot of these things, but as we say, it's feast or famine. We've went from literally very little, obviously, at this tail end, as always. When the window opens up, you get linked to everybody and their granny, and not really too much came of that. By all accounts, we thought that maybe Schmeichel was going to be a name that was on the lips, but it did kind of just come out of nowhere. Nobody really, they kind of just says, that'll never happen, that's just a lazy one, and then it was never mentioned. He popped up. Obviously, Bernardo, that was a fix. Sinisalo, again, out of nowhere, that didn't have it. But are you feeling a wee bit sort of optimistic that going from no links to several links now, that it's actually positions that we need? It's not your random, it's not your randomers. We need cover at the left. 2 left backs have popped up. We've always been crying out for a strong midfielder. Here comes one there. Also as well, the other links as well. The boy for Leicester that can play multiple positions, similar profile as well. Do you buy into it? There's perhaps a wee bit of truth into it, because it's, we could have been making these links all the way through the summer.
Right at the start, when it first started, like you said, we were linked with anybody that played for Leicester, anybody that was a free agent, and anybody that was Irish. That was it. That was Celtic's links. And then you can go back and check it out. It's exactly every single rumour that came out. That was it. Personally, I think we need now a left back, which we've been linked with a few. A centre half, been linked with a few. Somebody else for the central midfielder role, because if anything ever happens to Callum, we need somebody that's going to step in there and do the job. I think young Odin Thiago Holm is starting to look like a bit of a player. He's been given a few minutes now and he's starting to kind of come into his own a little bit. I think there is definitely a player in there. Like you said, we're needing somebody else for possibly the right wing position, because I don't think Yang is going to make the impact that we need. And another third striker, possibly this will be a lone one. We spoke about that before. We always get a striker in, and the third one will be a loanee, essentially.
As we said as well on that, Paddy, just to come back to one that I'd spoke about, again, this will develop in the next sort of couple of days. The Premier League season kicks off next week. But the other name that was floating about was, Ben Doak, somebody that we already had. Now, as we said before, the manager made it clear whenever, and I'm kind of glad it didn't become the case, because I didn't think he would meet the criteria. I don't think he would really be the standard we needed as a third choice. But whenever they were trying to keep Rocco Vata around, the manager said enough that he wanted to have Kyogo plus one other, which we know was always going to be Idah. And if that had been pitched to him, that you would have been the third choice striker if you stay around, son. So, I think for me, Ben Doak, that would possibly be a loan. I believe they want to sell him, so it could be a loan with an option to buy, or a straight out purchase if you wanted to do it. Is a third choice striker Ben Doak? I know he had a wee bit of an injury and they didn't quite make the Euros there, but is that something? Does that sound a wee bit more appealing than what we've had before? Certainly with Mikey Johnson as a third choice striker at the moment, or second choice, or an O. Does that float your boat a wee bit better?
It's better than what we've had, isn't it? He's a decent enough player, decent standard, played at a good level. I think if we could get him in on loan, with the option to buy next year, I think that would be the best bet for Celtic. Just going to get to have a look at him in the SPFL and see what he's like, see what he's going to offer us essentially. Again, I don't think he's going to play a lot of minutes for us. However, I think, like I say, a loan with an option to buy would probably be better than just going out and spending. I don't know what the fee is. What's the fee?
Well, the fee's not really been mentioned. As it says, it was basically they've come back from their pre-season tour, and he was going to be sitting down with his representatives. He was going to be sitting down with the club, and they were going to be discussing what was best for the future. There was chat that Southampton, there was chat that Leicester were also interested. And obviously, they've just been freshly promoted. Yeah. I said on the video when I briefly touched on it, I just want to get what your thoughts on it is. He's been down there for the best part of 2 seasons now. Now, nobody really knows what he's going to be making. Now, if you hear that Vata's on about 25 grand a week, which is supposedly his contract down there, then you've got to imagine it's not going to be far off. Who knows? Maybe actually a wee bit more, given that it's Liverpool. So he's had 2 good years of doing that, but he now finds himself at that crossroads, does he not? Where'd I go? The only thing being, he has had appearances in the first team for Liverpool. He's played in the Europa League and stuff, so maybe he sees that's where the future goes. But you says you don't see him getting time at Celtic. Would you see him getting time at Leicester or Southampton? You know, so if you've got your balancing act, you're juggling the balls, and it's you, Paddy, you're in his position, and forget your Celtic fan, which he is as well. You've got a crossroads. Which way do you go? Do you think I can come back, redemption story, show that I was always going to make it here, and then I will kick on? Or do you roll that dice and you maybe sit on the bench all season at one of these teams, and then who they maybe eventually go down?
Celtic's the bigger club, isn't it? You'd much rather come up and, like you said, he might feel like he's got a point to prove. He might feel like he's been sent away down there a bit prematurely, and obviously he'll have family up here as well. So that could be a kind of a wee window to bring him back up. I think he'd be a great addition to the squad. For me, it's Celtic over Leicester and Southampton. I don't see them as being massive clubs like Celtic is. If he's playing down at Liverpool, you're going to move from Liverpool to a team, in my opinion, of a similar stature. And for me, that's Celtic. Southampton and Leicester are a step back. I'd like to see him in. I think he'd have a lot to offer us. I think he's a decent addition. Having him, Kyogo and Idah, it's a no-brainer for me.
I mean, to be fair, we didn't really get a chance. You know, he was tried to be wooed. Ange Postecoglou was never one to try and sort of win over players. It was either you want it or you don't, son. See you later. Maybe to our detriment, as we've seen with a few players that we lost, perhaps for lesser fees and the likes, where it was just a case of you can go, and that opens up a door to folk. Ben Doak was sort of integrated to get a couple of bits a minute, but it was all a little too late. Again, we'll talk about the Brendan factor. And I'd like to think if Brendan Rodgers is sitting down with a Ben Doak and having that conversation with him, he's going to be a lot more put across a lot more compelling offer than a Postecoglou possibly would, particularly around about guarantees. I know nothing's guaranteed, but if you ever listen to players talking about the manager, he really instills this belief. His man management, his way to win you over is second to none. I think Ange Postecoglou was good at doing that to get you in the door, but I think once you were in, you just go on with it, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I spoke about it before, Brendan's approach to management. Brendan's very man management style. He's got his formation set out, and he's a very intelligent man, and he's got a very, very good footballing brain. Ange Postecoglou, for me, wasn't a man manager. Ange Postecoglou was more of a, this is how we play, this is what we do. Very good manager, absolutely incredible what he done for us. But you can see what's happening down at Spurs as well. He's doing the exact same thing for them. He's bringing in the type of player that he wants to play in these positions.
Quite a very specific system, yep.
Yeah, very specific system. Whereas Brendan, like I say, he's more in touch with the players. I had said a thing on here before. When Brendan was first here at Celtic, I used to go up to the Dakota to see the players. And you would go up with the kids, and all of the players would come out and they'd sign autographs and they'd talk about each and everybody, and they'd go on the bus, and then the management would come out and they'd go on the bus with the players as well, and away they would go to Celtic Park. Now, I took the kids up to see them at the Dakota as well, under Ange, and it was totally different. There's 2 buses sitting there. The players come out, security standing there. The players didn't even look up at the kids or nothing. They were straight onto the bus. The occasional wee wave here and there, maybe somebody run over for a photo, but they weren't as friendly as what they normally were. Then Ange and the management team came out and they went on the other bus as well. And I thought, that looks divided. That looks as if it's a kind of us and them. And I didn't like that. Yeah. And now, obviously, you go back up there again. There's 1 bus. Brendan, straight onto the bus with the players as well. And it's nice to see. Yeah, he's the manager. Yeah, he's got that respect and things like that. But you need to be one of the boys, essentially, as well. And I think he's got that rapport with him as well. You can see that when one of the players, when Carter Vickers kind of made a mess of a pass and stuff like that as well, and you can see Brendan like, oh, right, that's a bit an unusual one, kind of laughing at him and things like that. And yeah, I just think the man management style of Brendan Rodgers is a lot more beneficial for Celtic, and especially bringing in a kind of young player like Ben Doak. I think it'd be absolutely outstanding.
No, and that's the thing. There does seem to be a right togetherness, and hopefully, as we're saying, the Idah marks the start of a proper sign of intent for the club to move forward. We find ourselves on the 13th of August. There's still a couple of weeks to go in the transfer window. That's a relief. We are still light. I think if we got enough in the tank at this moment in time between now and the transfer window to take care of domestic business, absolutely. I'm comfortable with that. The manager's timescale, he's always talked about the end of August. He's really looking at that Champions League draw. That's what he's set his deadline for. That's when he wants his players to be in the door. It's easier said than done. Should we just take that and accept it and say, do you know what, see if he's calm about it? We should be calm about it.
Well, it looks that way, doesn't it? The manager, like you said, he's come out and he's always said, wait to the end of the window, wait to the end of the window. We spoke about it before and you mentioned it there about the Premier League starting next week. So the Premier Leagues are going to start to announce their squads. They're going to go, right, he's in, blah, blah, blah. This guy's going to be on the outside. This guy's got a year left in his contract. He's not going to be given as much. And then that's when the kind of floodgates open. That's when the teams like Celtic and other teams can look in there and go, do you know what? We could take in, I don't even know. Let's say somebody, Luke Shaw. Right? Let's say Luke Shaw is one of the guys that's getting kicked out of Man United and you go, right, well, do you know what? Buff, in you come, son. I know we're never going to get somebody like that. But yeah, these kind of players, the guys that are going to be on the periphery, are the guys that Brendan's waiting on, I think. So once the Premier League, like you say, kicks off this weekend, then we'll get to see the kind of squads, and I think there'll be a lot more activity come the end of next week.
Well, there might actually be some other activity on the outgoings. That's something that we've definitely been good at doing. Now, if you cast your mind back as well, when the manager was speaking about transfers and squad and reducing the size of squad, and we obviously covered that as well in a wee bit of depth when he first came in, and we said that we thought that we need to reduce the numbers. The first team squad on paper on that website was around about 40 players, and we were saying we need to shave that fat off, we need to trim the fat, get that down to maybe that sort of 26 mark, and have a body of players, have maybe about 16, 17 guys that you say, yep, they are straight in first teamers, and then you can supplement that with a wee bit around. We've certainly been good so far at reducing the numbers. We've reduced them significantly. Yep, we've maybe not brought in as many. In terms of we've said how many players we think we need on top of what we've just got there for Idah. Probably looking at maybe another 4, I would say, would be a sweet spot. Still with room for improvement into January, but there could still be other guys that are going out. Now, one of the ones that have come up is Kwon. We spoke about Kwon time and time again, and it's just popped up that he's all but ready to go to Hibs. He's going to be getting loaned out to Hibs on loan for a season. Previously, as we know, he was at St Mirren. They seemed to really like him. He looked, for what he is, he looked decent enough. I used the term, no disrespect, I thought he'd maybe found his level. He came in, some of the pre-season games, he didn't look great. I didn't think he looked to the standard to keep him about. But what do you think of that as a move for him? Is Hibs a good fit, and is it a better team to have a guy like that in to see what he's worth against, say, the likes of St Mirren? Now, St Mirren rode the crest of a wave last season, and a very, very strong, there we go, Quan deal confirmed is just coming in there, 12-month loan. Lovely. Well, there we go. We get to see him, Paddy. Instant reaction. What's your thoughts on Quan? Is that a better team to see him at? A team that you would expect to be, pushing more, playing better?
Yeah, listen, he's probably more fitted to the Hibs side than what it would have been the St Mirren team. Hibs are a very attack-minded side. I think it would be good for the progression. Like you say, he's a young lad as well, isn't he? He's still got a bit to do, so I'd like to see him out there. Like you said, he's not going to fit into our team. We spoke about it. He was one of the guys that we highlighted right at the very beginning of the transfer window, saying that we'd like to see him go out on loan. And you had said to another Scottish side so we can kind of keep a wee eye on him. So do you know what? Yeah, send him out there. Let him do it. Let him do his stuff for Hibs, as long as he doesn't get to play on Sunday and do any damage against us.
There's no danger of that. They never do that, do they? They never allow you to play against a parent club. A side note, I think that's an old, outdated thing. I don't think it should be a clause at all. I know it can hurt you, but sometimes you want your team, your players to play against the best. And if you consider yourself to be the best, there's nothing wrong with them going up against you to see what's going on there. But I think for me, Quan is interesting. He's on one of those ultra long contracts. 5 is the new 3, so we're not exactly getting rid of him anytime soon. But he was a nominal fee. Hibs, they've got a wee bit of money. Certainly another team, it's good to see. Aberdeen, they've got a wee bit of money in the door now. They're spending a bit of money. They look like a side that are doing a scaled down version of what we want. They look like they're trying to put the best on the pitch. They look like they're trying to be aggressive. It's quite the kind of guy that, with the amount of guys that we've got around, the quality that we've got, and we've sampled a few guys that could potentially come in the door. Is that somebody, get him out on loan, get him at Hibs, and it might become appealing for them to say, do you know what, you cost you £1 million, we can give you a couple of £100,000, or the likes in Aberdeen, similarly like that. Do you think that's the thing behind it, or do you think it's more getting him out to see what he's worth with a view, can we turn him into something for ourselves?
I think the idea of it is to try and progress these players and see if we can maybe break them into the Celtic team. That's kind of what we've done with Christopher Idah as well. If you remember when he came in, he wasn't straight into the Celtic squad. There was a couple of issues with him there. We sent him out to Kelly, and he'd come back a totally different player. You've seen it so many times. Ryan Christie, when he went to Aberdeen as well, Ryan Christie come back a totally different player. So I think it's good to send these guys out, and then you can keep an eye on them. And do you know what? See if it comes after the year and you go, no, he's not going to get into my squad. You say, Hibs, do you want him? Right. $500,000, $1 million, whatever. There you go. And get him out the door. I'd seen there as well, somebody mentioned in the chat about the lad for Dundee, McCowan.
Yeah.
What a start to the season he's having. I said about him come the end of last season as well. He's our captain, isn't he? So I think
I'm not sure. I'd be lying to you if I said that I had my finger on the pulse with all things Dundee. But but listen, we've said time and time again, Paddy, that there's no shame in looking at what's around you. Certainly in terms of, I've been a great advocate of saying, if I was going to look at guys from a developmental standpoint, I would rather cherry pick potentially the best for the rest around our league, rather than finding ourselves in this situation. We are, no disrespect, but with Quan, because they are complete punts of the unknown, and you just hope that they come good. Whereas if you can get a guy, I'm sure if you went to Dundee and that was somebody that interested you, what, £1 million thereabouts.
I know.
Some of them work out, some of them don't.
Look back to the times of Dundee United when we went in there and we took, was it Zaluska, Gary Mackay, Stephen and Nadir Sifchi. We pretty much took the backbone right out of their team. Put them
with mixed results.
Mixed results for all of them. But do you know what? That's kind of the way you're talking there, is going into these teams and going, right, do you know what? That lad's had a cracking season for Aberdeen. Let's take him. That lad's had a cracking season for Dundee. Let's take him. And if you're going to get them in for £1 million or whatever, then, like you say, it's not much risk for hopefully big reward.
Well, from one guy that we know is definitely on loan, that we'll get to see our eyeballs on and, run the roll over, this season in Kwon. The other one that was mentioned, Kobayashi, we thought he was just all out there. And it seems as if St Mirren are wanting to roll a dice and have a wee shot at him for a season as well. Again, we've not really got to see anything in him, but we've got to be mindful that these guys are on ridiculously long contracts. They're on these 4 and 5, these 4 or 5 year contracts. Kobayashi, from apparently getting sent back to Japan to now meant to be going on loan to one of our sort of domestic rivals. Is that, for you, is that a pleasant surprise, or does that maybe suggest that, you know, we're going to keep him about? Because he was all but a stick on, was not, for heading back to Japan. So that one's very, very strange, I would say.
Yeah, I'd seen it before. I think he was stuck on for Red Imps or something like that. Was it in Yokohama? Was it? He was heading out to whatever
Yeah, I believe
team
he was
it was. I
heading
can't
back
actually
home.
remember, but he was linked and apparently he was gone. That was it. Yeah. So it was already gone as far as I was concerned. And then obviously when it's coming to the pre-season, you see him rock up wearing the new tracksuit. I thought, right, what's going on here? This is a bit scary. We're not actually going to buy any centre half, so we're just going to kind of use what we've already got in the tin here. So seeing him going out on loan, do you know what? Again, let's just keep an eye on him. Do I think he's going to turn into an incredible talent? Probably not. I've seen a little bit of him for what we've seen him playing a Celtic top. He doesn't look comfortable with the ball at his feet. For a big lad, he doesn't seem comfortable in the air. He seems very lightweight.
You're scratching off all these attributes here. Not much going. Push it, passion, piss it, heading. You know.
For me, pitch. Get him out.
But you know what? At least you're honest. I'd rather you were honest and try to sugarcoat it, mate. But no. But finally, before we finish up, the last one, but quite surprising, a guy that's been linked with many. Nothing's really quite materialised. It's all been quiet in that front. Is Gustav Lagerbielke. Now it's came out that he's actually turned down an option for a season-long loan over at Malmo to return over there. Could have got yourself in time for the squad. They've got a Champions League qualifier for PAOK against PAOK. And he's turned that one down. Obviously, we've got the potential still suitors out there in Italy. He's not going anywhere near the squad, let's face it, is he? We've asked the question before. Do you see him going? All these guys that are linked with loans and nothing comes around about it. Do you actually think that we'll be able to find a suitor for Lagerbielke?
I hope so. You don't want them sitting there taking a wage for nothing. You don't want them being another McCarthy, do you? Sitting there just wiping your hands and taking the money. If we can get him out on loan, if we can punt him, then by all means go for it. He's another one that I would be looking to just offload. For me, he's come in, he's tried. He's not the answer for me. Maybe we're used to a better standard in there. Yeah, Stan Vargas and Bobo Baldi's and guys like that. Let's bring in some units to work alongside Carter Vickers, because we know he's got the job done there. We know.
Well, that's the thing. We need these.
Alistair Johnson's got the right back covered, so if we can get somebody in for,
we get the cover in, Paddy, we'll see. But anyway, we're coming up just short of an hour. We've touched on some stuff there. Hopefully, as we say, is that, you know, Adam Idah, the reports are that the medical's all but done. So it'd be nice to have a wee sort of midweek formal announcement into the training, ready to go for that game, with perhaps maybe still to be confirmed slight knock to Kyogo, a debut against Hibs starting. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? In the cup, that'd be a nice sort of starting point to your weekend there.
But that's it. It'd be nice to see him in the top, just unveiled and straight on. Straight out there to do the job.
Yeah, surprise double sidekick and Abu Kamara, double dunt, would that be?
I know, I seen you said that. What was it, coming out in the yellow jerseys as well, just to kind of rub it in, rub the salt in. There you go, boys.
It would be nice.
It would be lovely to see, but let's face it, we've got Adam Idah in the door. We know what to expect. I think he will start in the cup. I think he'll be thrown straight in there and Kyogo will be given a rest. And I'd be I'll be looking at him getting first goal, and I'm going to say 4-0.
This is going to be the recurring theme. The recurring theme of 4-0. It should have been a more than the 2 at the weekend, so I'll give you that one. But anyway, listen, as we say, we're just coming up in an hour. It's 7:30. I am aware that there's multiple other podcasts on there that some are commuting over. So if you've stuck with us right to the end, then thank you very much. And of course, I'm aware
another night, lads.
Oh, listen, I hope so. I hope so. We'll see. But I am also aware that the Rangers are playing at their makeshift home tonight, and they kick off in 15 minutes. So I'm sure that there'll be a few who have departed to get the cans cracked or get down to the shop or carry out to sit and watch and hopefully get dealt up some delicious pain. That would be a great start. So that would be a great start to the week. Adam Idah signing, Rangers falling flat in their face in Europe. I'll take that. You know, that's what I will take. Exactly. Who? The Rangers. 2012. Cup 12.
Yeah, that's it. It'd be nice to see a wee job by Kiev tonight. That would just put the icing on the cake. Yeah, listen, all about the Celtic. Adam Idah in the door. Celtic strengthened. Hopefully another few more coming in. Watch this space. I've called it. The Premier League starts this weekend. This is when Celtic start to do their business. So come the beginning of next week, probably Monday or Tuesday, we'll have a centre half in the door and a left back.
Paddy, I'm going to hold you to that and see if you're right, and I will be stunned. I love you. You don't get a lot right, but sometimes, just sometimes, you had a bullseye, mate. So
see if you throw loads of shit out there, mate. Sometimes it comes back and sometimes you win.
That's that.
So
thanks to everybody again for taking the time to join us. We say, hit that subscribe, get a like, share it out there. Subscribe to Celtic World Order. We'll be back round, as we say. Hopefully, there'll be some more signings to come. Adam Idah's all but in the can. We've got a game to look forward to the weekend. We'll be back to cover that. It'd be nice if with some new news. And again, I said it last week. Maybe we'll have something to have a wee laugh about later on tonight as well. So until the next time, anyway, take care of yourself. Thanks for viewing. And as always, we say, hail, hail. See you all later.